exactly as designed. That's why people are failing inside it. In this explainer, we're going to dive into the systemic logic that's really behind that statement. So, the central idea we're going to explore here is this: that widespread friction you feel between our economic system and, human well-being, it isn't some kind of bug. It's actually a feature. This mismatch, it's no accident. It's structural, baked right into the very logic of how our economy is designed to work. Okay, so this brings us to what, on the surface, looks like a huge contradiction. You've got an economy that seems to be doing great, at least by its own standards, but then you have the people inside that economy, and they're really struggling. So let's unpack the metrics that paint this strange picture. And you can see that stark contrast right here. On one side of the ledger, you have all these system indicators, things like GDP growth and profitability, that all scream healthy economy. But on the other side, well, the human indicators are telling a totally different story. We're talking about rising burnout, declining mental health. They're not just a little off. They're moving in the complete opposite direction. Now, this is the crucial point. We need to reframe this whole situation. It's not a paradox that these two things are moving in opposite directions. In fact, it's the logical, even predictable outcome. You see, the system is producing exactly what it was designed to optimize for. It's just that the well-being of the people inside it, well, that was never the primary goal. So that begs a pretty fundamental question, right? If the system isn't designed for our well-being, then what is it designed for? The answer, and this is key, is a concept called throughput. So what is throughput? Well, it's all about one thing: maximization. It's about cranking up the speed of transactions, the volume of output, basically using every single available resource to its absolute limit. And a huge part of this is hunting down and eliminating anything the system considers idle capacity. And right there, that's the core issue, isn't it? Our very real human limits. The fact that we need rest, that we get tired, that our emotional capacity isn't infinite. Those things just aren't important variables in a system that's built for throughput. They're treated like externalities, basically rounding errors outside the main calculation. Okay, let's build on that and talk about efficiency, because efficiency in this context isn't some neutral, universally good thing. It actually acts as a pressure multiplier. It's the mechanism that takes stability from the individual and transfers it up to the larger system. And how does it do that? It's actually pretty simple. This relentless drive for efficiency works by just systematically finding and removing any and all slack from every single process. But we really need to redefine what we mean by slack. See, it's not just wasted time or wasted resources. For us, for humans, slack is the essential buffer. It's that margin we need to recover, to use good judgment, and, to fix mistakes before they spiral out of control. And as you strip away that slack, a very clear process starts to unfold. First, those buffers, they disappear. Then any redundancy, the very thing that gives the system resilience, gets eliminated. Suddenly, time horizons for planning get shorter and shorter, and decisions get compressed into these tiny windows. And the end result of all this? All the volatility, all the risk, and all the uncertainty gets transferred downward, away from the organization and right onto the individual. So here's the bottom line on this. The system itself, the organization, the market, the platform, it actually becomes more stable. But it only does that by offloading all of its inherent instability onto the people working inside of it. We become the system's shock absorbers. And of course, technology just pours gasoline on this fire. It dramatically increases productivity, sure, but it also jacks up the expectation of being instantly responsive. Our faster tools create faster work cycles, and these cycles just systematically erase the pauses and recovery windows that our brains absolutely need to function. Which naturally brings us to burnout. The way we're looking at things here suggests that maybe we should stop seeing burnout as some kind of personal failure, a flaw in the person. We should start seeing it for what it is, a designed output of the system itself. Think about it. When people start to break down under all this strain, what's the typical response? It's almost never to question this system's design, is it? No. Instead, that systemic overload gets reframed as a personal failing. We're told we just need to be more disciplined, manage our time better, or be more resilient. And this leads us to the absolute heart of the matter. Can any amount of personal discipline or habit stacking or resilience training really solve a problem that is, by its very nature, structural and systemic? Well, the structural answer is a pretty clear no. Individual effort can only take you so far. Sure, discipline and resilience are great under normal, stable conditions, but they completely break down when a system is constantly demanding more than our fundamental human limits, our biological and cognitive limits, can possibly give. And that's how we arrive at the main takeaway here. Burnout isn't a bug in the human software. It's a predictable, almost calculated output. It's the sign of a system that is successfully achieving its primary objective, maximum throughput. If you look at the mechanics here, you can see how burnout gets produced. It's the result of specific design properties. It happens when demands constantly outstrip our capacity to recover. It happens when we're given all the responsibility but none of the control, when uncertainty is just continuous. And the crucial thing to remember is these aren't personality traits. They are system settings. All right, so let's tie this all together. The core problem, when you boil it all down, is a fundamental misalignment, a mismatch between what our economic system is trying to achieve and what human beings actually need to function. And this table really lays it out clearly. The system, it's optimized for scale, speed, and throughput. It treats its parts like they're just adaptive components you can swap in and out. But us, we're optimized for things like meaning and rhythm and recovery. We aren't infinitely adaptive. We have very real, fixed biological limits. Once you start seeing things this way, it fundamentally changes the questions you ask. You stop asking, what's wrong with people? Why can't they keep up? And you start asking, okay, what is this system actually designed to reward? What is it ignoring? And what costs is it pushing off onto individuals? Now, the point of all this isn't to offer up some simple solution. The goal is to get to a much clearer, more accurate diagnosis of the problem, because you can't even begin to think about redesigning something until you have a really clear and accurate diagnosis of what's wrong in the first place. So let's wrap this up. The economy, when you judge it by its own metrics, is working. Markets are clearing, systems are scaling, and the optimization just keeps going. The people, however, they're breaking. And it's not because they're weak. It's because in a system designed from the ground up for maximum throughput, human well-being was simply never the optimization target. This channel explains money, artificial intelligence, and decision-making as interconnected systems. No hype, no gurus, no personal branding. New videos weekly.